Hello guys, welcome to Pokédex, the channel where I build decks for the Pokemon trading card game. You guys might remember last week when I talked about my Regice Vileplume deck. I mentioned there was another Regice deck that I had, and this one was submitted by a subscriber. He reached out to me through a private message on YouTube and he said he had a build for a Regice deck, and his name is Raising Ash. Props to you, man. I'm going to have your name in the description. You have the credit for the deck because you came up with it. And he showed me the deck, and at the time I was kind of busy building my own Regice deck, as you guys know. It's the one I posted with Vileplume and all that. But I tested this deck. It's Regice with Aurorus. So the thinking behind this deck, I guess, is Regice is really good against EXs, but the opponents might have a non-EX Pokemon in the deck to get rid of Regice somehow, or maybe they're just playing like a Vespiquen deck or something, and that's where Aurorus comes into play. The ability to just protect our Pokemon from damage, our Regice, for each Aurorus that we have in play. If we have the Water Energy on, it will get 20 less damage from attacks of the opponent's Pokemon. That's nice. I think that's a cool combination. I'm not sure that's enough to actually protect against the Vespiquen decks, but it is enough to protect against the random non-EXs that the EX decks play. So I think this is a very cool build, and one of the things that I like the most about his list is the fact that we can play Shaymin EXs right now, and they combine really well with Fossil Researcher. There's been a lot of resurgence in the numbers of non-card draw supporters because of Shaymin EX. Basically, we can just Ultra Ball for a Shaymin and play a utility supporter instead of one that draws us cards. So that kind of leaves us room for other stuff like the more Lysanders, X-Maniacs, stuff like that, but we are not playing any of those in this deck. We're just going for the Fossil Researcher, grabbing those fossil Pokemon, which are Amara, and then evolving them into our stage 1, which is Aurorus, which protects our Regice. I changed the numbers a little bit, and I also added the card here that I'm going to talk in a minute, but let's just look at the Pokemon first. There's 2 Shaymin EX, 4 Amara, 4 Aurorus, that's pretty obvious, and of course 4 Regice because it's our main attacker and only attacker, hopefully. This is the card that I mentioned that I added to the deck, 2 maintenance. I think they work really nicely here. The ability to just shuffle an Amora that gets stuck into our hand and just get a random card out of our deck is, I think, really nice. They also combine really nicely with Shaymin by getting less cards in our hand that we didn't need anyways. We can just play the Shaymin and draw into cards that we would need. So I think that works really nicely. I'm really happy with the maintenance. I think they work nicely in this deck. 1 Sacred Ash, because that just means that we have extra attackers with our Regice. We can just recycle them. And of course, if we end up discarding some of our fossil line in the beginning of the game, we can just grab them back. Actually, the only card that discards cards here is Ultra Ball, but it might happen, so. There's 4 switch in here. I think we actually need the 4, because one of the most disrupting things the opponent can do is bring an Aurorus, or even an Amora to the active position with a Lysander, and we get the guy stuck there. We don't want to put energy on this guys if we can avoid them, so I think we really need a 4 switch. Of course, we could also go for AZ, but that sucks with the fossil Pokemon, because we would need to shuffle this guy back and then play the Fossil Researcher. So that's a lot of work. I don't think it's worth it, so 4 switch, I think they're really needed. 3 Trainer's Mail helping us grab our items. We have 4 Ultra Ball because of Shaymin and because of all the Pokemon that we want to get. 4 VS Seeker, for obvious reasons as well, and then 3 Fossil Researcher. The 4th would be nice to grab in the early stages of the game, but I think because we have the Shaymin and because we have the Trainer's Mail, I think 3 are okay. If we grab extras in the later stages of the game, it's just such a bad card that I think that we really cannot afford to play the 4th. We have 2 Lysander, and then 4 Professor Birch's Observations and 2 Shawn as far as card drawing goes. Not playing any Sycamore because we want to avoid discarding cards, and I think these guys work nicely. I think there's enough card draw in the deck. 3 Rough Seas to complement the damage protection. This one heals 30 damage, so that's also nice. And then we have 4 Muscle Band because they just make our Regice hit for the Precious 90, which kills the Raichus and the Vespiquens, and also 2 hits the EXs. Sometimes we don't want to give our opponent that much time. And there's then 10 energy, the 4 DC and 6 water energy. So that's the deck. Let's play it. Okay, so we're playing against the dragon deck of sorts. Maybe it's Giratina with something else. And we are going first. So let's see. I'll start with the Regice. That's nice. And we have the Fossil Researcher. Okay, there's a Reshiram, so our opponent immediately shows us non-EX Pokemon, so I think the Amora and the Aurorus are going to be useful. I'm just going to pass the turn. I just hope I can draw the DC off this Shauna. Okay, so it's a Rayquaza Dragon deck. There's the Spirit Link, Shauna. Just hope I can kill this Reshiram as quickly as I can. I think this deck my opponent has probably has a lot of switches. So I don't think going for the first attack on the Regice is actually any good, because he could then just retreat out of it, and I would have to find the Lysander anyway. So I think I'll play the Shauna, try to say my prayers and draw into a DCE. Opponent is playing a Battle Compressor and taking his time, so let's see what the opponent got. Oh, Xerosic. Okay, I have to be careful with that, because that can remove our DCE. We have 2 water, but yeah. Shauna. Yes, we did draw the DC, that's perfect. And we got an Ultra Ball, which, yeah, I think I'll play. I think I can evolve one of my guys into the Aurorus. We have card draw for the next turn, and I want to avoid playing the Shaman if I can. Just because if I can keep killing the Reshirams, I think I got my opponent under control. Is my opponent just going to VS Seeker out the Xerosic? Kind of feels like he might, because he put it into the discard pile. I mean, if I play the Battle Compressor and yeah, there's VS Seeker. But maybe my opponent does not have a way to, yeah, my opponent did not have a way to draw cards, so he has to go for the Shauna. So that's good for us, at least. That gives an extra turn to potentially find a DC. We might just find it next turn, but you never know. There's a Hoopa, really powerful, grabbing 3 Pokemon from my opponent's deck. And he's going to play the Hydreigon and oh, Trader's Mail. Is he playing Skyfield? Fire Torch, okay. That's one that you don't see every day, but I guess it combines well with the Mega Turbo. My opponent just played also the Battle Compressor, so that's why he discarded the Lightning Energy. There's the Fire accelerated by the Reshiram. If my opponent does not retreat, that Reshiram is going to die. And that's like the most important Pokemon that we can kill right now. My opponent is tanking and passes the turn without playing a stadium, without retreating. Okay, so we got the DCE. And I think my opponent has a high probability of Xerosicking our energy away, so I think I'm just going to Resistance Blizzard. I could play the energy and have 2 DCs in there and just play the Birch, and we drew the switch, which is awesome. So right now we have everything we need. Actually, my opponent can just Lysander out one of our guys and kill it, but we don't really care. We couldn't care less as long as we have the Regice in play. I play the Aurorus just to make sure that we could protect ourselves against the Reshirams, but because my opponent field is all bench with the EX Pokemon, I'm not really worried about that. So, and I want my opponent to play the Xerneas. Oh, we Lysanders, okay. It's going to take a prize. Yeah, I want my opponent to spend the Xerneas that he has, not knowing that we have the energy, because we don't really need to play anything else. So I think I'm just going to keep using Resistance Blizzard. We deal only 70. We do have the Muscle Band, but that Rayquaza has the Delta Wild Ancient Trait. She's a little annoying. And my opponent might Lysander out our little guy on the bench, but I don't mind that at all. Plus my opponent just cannot play Ace Trainer anymore. Yeah, I think I'll keep things as they are. I'm going to try, yeah, I'm spending the Muscle Band just to make sure that now that I think of it, there are no ends in the format, so I didn't really need to put this thing down. My opponent does not have a way to make me shuffle until we draw an extra prize. Oh, there's the Zerosic, finally. I was baiting it. I think I waited 2 long turns for that, and my opponent just ended up playing it. I hope he went for that instead of something else, so that I can just put this thing here. Might just play this and this, I think. Yeah. Draw 6 cards. Maybe I shouldn't have put the stadium down now that I think of it. Yeah, that was a mistake. I'm not healing any damage, and my opponent now can retreat for free. I forgot about that. Okay, so that was a mistake. Sorry, guys. I hope it doesn't come into play, because I want to grab one of the non-dragon guys with a Lysander if I can anyway, so maybe it doesn't make a difference. Let's see. My opponent's Rayquaza only has 20 HP, so he retreats out of it. He could retreat anyways, he would just have to discard energy. Doesn't really make a difference at this point. If my opponent does not grab a non-EX attacker, he's in trouble anyway, so might as well just let one of his guys die. I will try to get that knockout this turn. Oh, we finalize under, that's perfect. Can just move the game forward a little bit more. The question is, do I play anything else? I think I want to save resources, but yeah, I can play the energy just to make sure. Because now if my opponent 0-6s again, we might just be able to find another energy, or whatever that energy is. So I'm just really confident in my game right now. Don't really know what my opponent can do. I think if he plays a Reshiram and starts charging it, I might be in trouble. But still, I don't think the Reshiram can kill the Regice in one hit, unless my opponent has a Muscle Band. So I think I'll play another energy. Or maybe I just maintenance first. Yeah, I can get back this Rough Seas and the Sacred Ash in the deck. And we got another useless card. Don't really mind that too much. So I think I'll just drop the DCE, can play this thing and shuffle. Okay, so we got the evolution. Don't think it makes a difference, but let's just keep adding some more damage. This Aurorus, we could play the energy there, because it would make it have 150 HP itself. Oh, there's a Giratina, okay. Yeah, Resistance Blizzard, knockout. Let's draw a couple of prizes. Now we just need to take one extra knockout. If my opponent just attacks with a Reshiram, we might just knock it out anyways. I mean, we have to attack first. But if we manage to find a Lysander out of this Trainer's Mail, which might be a Trainer's Mail into an Ultra Ball, and then I have to play the double switch, so that spends a lot more cards, and maybe, oh, we get an Ultra Ball ourselves. Okay, so maybe I go for the Shaman and just try to knock something out. Although I wouldn't. Okay, so we got the Lysander. I'm not killing anything with this Lysander, but I think it's worth it to Lysander out the Upa, because that thing retreats for 2 energy. So unless my opponent does have the switch here, he cannot play 2 energy in the same turn. The double dragon does not fit the Upa because it's not a dragon type, and a double colorless energy doesn't really make sense in this deck. So I would assume my opponent either has a switch or we just win the game here. If it's an actual switch or escape rope that my opponent plays to switch out of the Upa, we might be able to find just a Lysander to Lysander it again. If it's an AZ, I guess he heals the damage. I can't imagine a scoop up here. Oh, there's the AZ. Called it. My opponent is tanking for a little bit. I don't really know what I would go with, because none of these guys can actually hit me, so if only Yupa could grab you. The Reshiram, the non-basic one. Yeah, there's the retreat for the Shaman. Lysander, okay. if I hit the Shaman, it just retreats or just Sky returns, so that seems really bad. I'm just going to grab the Oop again. If he does have a way to retreat again, I'm fine with it. I cannot imagine why the opponent would play the Oop again, to be honest. I think I would have ended up just grabbing the Giratina and just try to find the second Lysander for the following turn. Well, I mean, not the second, it's like the fourth that we would be playing, so another switch, yeah, but we just won the game. Our opponent was not able to retreat, and there's a win for us. Regice. So this is another version. It has its strengths and weaknesses, as all decks. If you guys enjoy this, please try it out. It's super cool. Once again, thank you, Rising Ash, for the deck idea and for the cool list. I hope you don't mind me tweaking it a little bit. And tell me if you like this deck or not. And see you guys next time. Bye.